Thank you very much, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. So, my apologies, I don't speak very good Turkish. I'll do my best to get the messages across. It is an abstract discussion. If we can have the slides, please. And technical problems, as always. We can have the best ideas, but we can't realize them technologically. All right. Am I ad-libbing, guys? All right. I'm going to start my presentation in respect to the other speakers until we get the slides. The topic of the presentation I wanted to present you with today is leading innovation in banking, enabling a customer-centric strategy, leveraging technology. I guess any innovation discussion would require us to look at the past. It's always to benchmark. One of the greatest innovations that we've seen in the past century, or at least in the last half century, is the advent of the mainframe. So if IBM guys were in this room, I would say thank you for the great innovation in technology. So 50 years last Monday, the mainframe was cut into production for corporations. It's interesting when we look at a piece of technology and how much it can change the landscape that we all work with. So if we were to think back, how was banking done 55 years ago? Not too far back, not 100 years, but 55 years ago. How would we do banking? There's actually not much documentation anywhere to substantiate operations and processes that banks would adopt to run their business. 55 years. But since then, leveraging technology, we have been able to take mass amount of data, crunch it, and produce results. So in the early 70s, banks had the ability to do centralized processing. They had the ability to actually talk through the concepts such as profitability analysis, or the ability to serve customers at the branch based on real value of their bank account. In the early 70s, we then had the ability of having a mainframe terminal sitting in front of a teller to actually deduct money off the account. Now, off the back of that innovation, which was technologically driven, came a lot of new waves of innovation based on development, taking hard engineering and translating it into tangible capabilities for the finance industry to leverage. So we then had the advent of PCs coming into the landscape, enabling relationship managers in the morning to come into the bank, and many of you who have been in banking for years, you would remember that you come into the bank and first thing you would get is a stack of printouts out of a dark matrix printer. You would have that into a binder and a customer would come and wants to sit down and talk about their account. You would flip through it, use a ruler, find a line item, that's your balance. And if they wanted to do any transaction, you would walk into the back front office and they would post the transaction and they would do the posting. Let's fast forward a little bit. In the 90s, that PC became pervasive. Relationship managers could take banking on the road. They could actually have discussions with farmers, with manufacturers who started offering customized products. But then something changed. Because until then, the innovation was driven based on capabilities of technology. But now technology became pervasive. People started having PCs at home. Now those PCs allowed the end users to get comfortable with the concept of, well, I can do this myself. I don't have to sit down and balance my checkbook with a calculator. I can get Microsoft Money, those of you who remember that, and do that at home. And then the customers started demanding to take control of information management. That demand shifted the innovation from being technologically and engineering driven by now being adopted based on customers' comfort, customers' demand. So the wave of adoption took over. The wave of adoption has now brought us to a point where we look at capabilities that we have in our cell phones and tablets and say, I have access to internet, I have access to applications, I have access and I am empowered to manage my data. So, Mr. Bank, how do you view me? How do you view your relationship with me? It's not how do I view my relationship with you. How do you manage my money? Because realistically speaking, the only thing that keeps a customer tied to a bank is either the relationship or the fact that we've made it so bloody difficult for the customer to leave a bank. And we've done that very well as bankers. I was a CTO of ANZ Bank myself. I've worked with many of the banks. And one of the things was that we make it very easy for customers to open up an account with us, but not so easy for them to leave the bank. Because we want to maintain the relationship. Now, the fact is, what if we started to look at the concepts of what the customers need? How do we change the reality of banking? How do we change the ability to say that if a customer wanted to view their relationship with my bank, would they actually want to have a consolidated view of that relationship? And I just look around the room and ask, how many people have relationship with only one bank? We have one person, that's great. How many people have relationship with less than 3 banks? How many people have relationship with more than 3 banks? Majority, right? Now, when we wake up, when we look at our daily life, when we wake up and actually say, what do I do today? Generally, I look at myself. This morning I got up, I'm in a foreign country. First thing I do is I look at the news. Second, I look at emails from my boss. Third is I'm thinking about, is my mortgage paid? Is my credit card paid? Because I use my credit card for a taxi where they take it, right? Basically, what is my financial standing? And to do that, I have to go through 3 different internet banking mobile applications. What if I was empowered to consolidate and take control of my personal finances? It would be an interesting concept. Because realistically speaking, does it really matter if one bank offers me a really good mobile banking experience versus another bank who just gives me the information I need? It would make a difference about 4 years ago, but I would challenge the conventional wisdom that if it makes sense to make it really, really, really good application based on look and feel versus expedience of data. Now, what if this gentleman with a question mark could actually receive a tailor-made proposition to his or her need based on the context of their situation from any bank? As a matter of fact, let's go a little bit further. Somehow, magical genie takes over this person's mobile device, and the magical genie says, I will govern how the offer comes to my owner. And the banks that he has a relationship with, George has a relationship with, has to compete with each other, and the magical genie only shows me the most contextual offer that is the best offer that I can use from multiple banks. So we're not talking about personal financial management. That is just also 2000. Internet banking and mobile banking. Internet banking was invented in 1995. I don't know many people who still drive a car from 1995. Right? So why should we constrain ourselves with concepts from 1995? Now, let's go a little bit further. How could I address the third point? How could I be appreciated for my social standing? This is really important. This is not about social media. This is not about Facebook and anything else that we would know as fads. But this is about social standing. When you start doing rural banking, when you want to take the concept to underbanked, when you want to actually go into an area penetrating a new market for people who actually are used to, even still today, to do business in cash, how would you assess the social standing of a person? There is a bank in Sweden. I cannot get into the advertisement of this and their name, but a Swedish bank has actually changed their entire business model, empowering the branch manager to make the ultimate decision, because their entire business is based on relationship management. Their entire risk management model is based on relationships. So that's an interesting concept. How would you address social standings and link that to driving business and addressing your customers' needs? Is it based on your brand? Is it based on your product? Is it based on your price? Don't know. We have some hypotheses on this. The other concept that I would like to submit to you is around business banking. Business banking is a tricky one. There is the lower end of SMB, small, medium-sized business, all the way up to institutional global banking. But one fundamental problem that I've observed in several travels and talking to several banks, which I think you would have as well, is the ability to understand the current value of a customer's portfolio and be able to make a risk-based decision on how to now leverage this person's portfolio and provide them with facilities. Now that would start from the enablement of corporations to address their payables and receivables on a daily basis, all the way through to risk-based analysis of assets and be able to net present value those assets and be able to leverage that to provide ultimate facilities, either syndicated or non-syndicated or otherwise. But how would you do that? Realistically. Right now, majority of the banks will take an extremely pragmatic approach and then apply their risk model of the month on top of it, based on their portfolio. Well, should your customer be happy about that? Because if they go to another bank who's got a lower risk base than you, they could borrow more against their portfolio. So if let's say a big corporation that wants to buy a mine in Africa needs significant amount of liquidity, they would be best off to deal with a bank that is least secure, because they could borrow the most amount of money from them. That would be the concept. Now, if we start looking down that stack, we can see that banks could leverage their relationship to aid the SMB, small, medium-sized business. Why not? You're big, established banks. You have existing relationships. You have significant relationships to help you with sourcing. You have great credit standing and ability to source goods at very well-negotiated prices. Why not extend that capability to your customers? Customer's money is with you. Customer deals with you. If they want to buy something, they have to take money away from you or to pay someone to put the deposit back into your bank. Why not extend the relationship? That would be an interesting concept. Most banks don't do that. They say, that's not our business. We're in the money business. Which is an interesting concept, because again, are you in the money business? It's a challenging statement. Realistically speaking, most of the banks spend a very significant amount of money without you know yourselves how much you spend on IT. You spend a significant amount of money managing legacy. So the concept that I talked about, the mainframe, at the beginning of the speech, you bought one of those to simplify your world. You started doing lots of amazing things. Along the way, some of you have bought companies along the way who had their own mainframe, and then in the 90s invented their own applications. and in the 2000s invented their own web-based applications. So you now have a lot of stuff that's each individually was intended to simplify the world. Well, that simplicity has become a bit more complex because every individual application that you have devised to help your business is now a burden for you to change. It is a burden for you to decide to change your business model because you have put so much of your business model of the 80s, of the 90s, of the 2000s into the technology. And you're actually unable to get the results that you need on time, on budget, out of those technologies to be able to help your customers and drive your business. So that is a complexity. Now what if, as a concept, what if you didn't have to do that? What if you could actually assess your business on time? What if you could get access to the data on time? Even more provocative, and I know several of you have been challenged with this, what if you didn't have to stop the bank to change the bank? It's amazing. I'm sure that none of you have IT problems. That's why some of us have met. But what if you didn't have to stop the bank to change the bank? What has caused this problem? Our hypothesis on this topic is somewhat provocative, especially coming from a company, SAP, where we have actually, for years, simplified the world's processes and put that into software. We believe the world has achieved a level of maturity to separate process from data. To very much simplify it, this little gray diagram in the corner, let's think of each of those squares as forms, either digital forms or paper forms that your customers have to fill out for you to approve or you create internally to move along the way. Now, if we were to do banking based on the 1970s version, we would manage forms. We then would manage the control of that form, either approval, denial, acceptance, rejection, through the process. Interestingly, somehow we've managed to bring that thinking into software. We still manage forms. We don't manage information. Very rarely that you would find a banking process that would abstract the structure of a form, which is really the process, away from the information. So for example, if a customer wants to accept a loan, the acceptance of a loan, realistically, by the time it reaches the customer, it's just two boxes. Yes, no. Why do we present them with 20 pages? Same 20 pages that they signed probably 18 of for their deposit accounts. Internally, we want to make a change request. Why do we have to go through 20 screens? I just want to change something. That asset is bank's asset, it's bank's process, it's bank's data. Why don't they just fill out a form to say, change this? And this is the only information. We think there is an opportunity here. This is not all lost. This is not about saying that everything is a problem. The fantastic nature of this is that by doing this, we have learned a lot. The first point of awareness for any kind of innovation is to know where you start from. That's why I started talking about the mainframe. What if we could get rid of the forms and only store the information? We've done this with our customers that are co-innovating with us. And I will talk about the reduction of size. But as a concept, once you take away the form, once you take away the duplication, you will end up with a single storage of information. You can transact on that single storage of information. You can make decisions on that single storage of information. You no longer need to replicate that information through multiple layers in order to get it to your customer. You don't need to take it from the data store, put it into core banking, from core banking, put it inside CRM, from CRM getting to the internet banking, and then the internet banking that has the next level of abstraction for mobile. By the time this gets to customer, it's like a printed newspaper. It's talking about yesterday. And everyone else has already read the news on their mobile device. It's no longer news, it's about old. So everything is essentially a report. So the concept of real time is not about real-time interaction of data, but it's about in-time relevancy of data and how I can act on that information. If I only stored one copy of data on my system, I could just detect the event. I could detect the fact that a customer wants to pay something and do something with that. The real time is about the experience. Can I interact with this information? The real time for analytics is about, and I learned a really good phrase the other day, consumerization of analytics. Can I consume this analytics? Versus, I've seen many wonderful reports that I look at it, I'm just impressed with the size of it. I have no idea what it means, but it's very impressive. Huge pivot table. Look, it's got 20 tabs. What does it mean to me? Can I consumerize the information? Can I enable my customer to make a decision? Internal or external customer? Can I operationally collapse the process so we can actually move the needle, move it forward? Challenge yourself. Think about, do you need the processes? Do you need the processes? Really? Do we need the concept of in-tray, out-tray in our software? Should we be spending money on in-tray, out-tray concepts? Or should we collapse all of that into relevant, single-time bucket of data and just go and pick the right piece of information and bring it straight to the consumer of that? And lastly, can I grow, enhance, and change the bank without further burdening the organization? A couple of months ago, I was meeting with a particular CIO, and this individual has invested a lot of money in many technologies. And he admittedly said that we have spent billions optimizing how we manage transactions. And we have really made our transactions work really, really, really fast and near real time. But we have spent billions in just optimizing transactions, not optimizing the bank. Challenge the conventional thinking to see, are you spending money to just make something incrementally better because you feel that it needs to be incrementally better, or do you want to disruptively change the operating model? Can you actually make it, here we go, about the customer? Right now, majority of banks run in two paradigms. One is about serving the customer, the other one is about knowing the customer. Knowing the customer is we use that for marketing and analytics. Serving the customer, we just do it because we do it. And then somehow magically, we grow the business. Had it not been for your brand and the legacy that you all come from, could you still grow the business? It's a challenging statement, I understand that. But realistically speaking, if you were a brand new bank today, could you run your business the way you run your business? If you could, fantastic, keep doing the same thing. But if you think you should do something different, perhaps all you should really think about is, how do I make that customer happy? How do I merge, know the customer, and serve the customer into one? And actually do it a little bit more different, a little bit more centric. Change my distribution model. If I want to change your distribution model, it's fundamentally difficult. It's fundamentally difficult because you have to change the way you accrue profitability. But when would you make that change? Because it's not about if you will change, it's about when you will change. We look some of these guys. 2 of them are banks, 2 of them are not. The most interesting one is the invoice management of this particular manufacturing company. Why I put it up there is because these individuals have more liquidity between multiple banks than multiple banks combined. So they actually fund a lot of the banks that they deal with. We work with them on just simple management of the invoices. It's in relationship with a particular post company. That post company also has a bank. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. We reduced their data by 37 times. It's huge. By simply getting rid of duplication, by fundamentally changing the process. And we brought their actual processing time to less than 3 seconds from 2 hours. Now, why? Why did we do this? Because this individual company, their business is about payables and receivables. Their entire business is based on that. So by them actually collapsing that process, they could get about their business way faster, serving their customers way better, not just because of the fact that report ran a lot shorter time. We went to Commerce Bank, and in Commerce Bank, we're doing a co-innovation with them that we're actually reducing the size of their potential materialized data by 75%. Why is that relevant? The relevance is that we're linking directly the channels straight to data. When someone wants to get a piece of information, they go straight, read it straight from the source. They don't go through 4 layers of CRM and 3 layers of data warehouse and then make a call to a SIF, come back and then answer the customer's question. Customer says, I want this price, done. I read your profile, your entitlements are X, here's your price. And in Commonwealth Bank of Australia, we're doing a pilot with them on digital loans where the customer does not actually ask for the loan. The loan is offered to them ahead of time, based on their location, based on their profile, and their acceptance of a loan, and the entire origination process is a click. And a thumb read when the thumb reader is available. When there isn't, it's a password on the device. That is the origination process, that's it. And that's not just for existing customers, that's for new customers. So that's when you start moving the needle from suspect to prospect to a sale. We tested this with them, and the interesting part was that we were challenged as a team by the CIO, can we do this in 3 months? We delivered in 45 days, applying new methods. It's not because we're SAP and we've done this. You can do it yourselves, but you have to collapse the process. You have to think differently. You have to go about this completely in a different way. Right now, last year when I presented here in Istanbul, I presented this slide as what can SAP do in banking? We can do all of that. Now, interestingly, most of your architects in the room, please put your hands up. Not many? Okay, good. Sheriff and Dimmy is over there. So the architects would say, oh, this is not enough. The banking functional model is much larger. Yes, it is. This is just an architecture view of it. That's all the bank's functions. We can address that with the exception of the green boxes. But interestingly enough, what I didn't talk about last year is that we only got very simplified platforms. In SAP, and this is the only thing to SAP's credit, when we decided to change our company, when we decided to change our product architecture, we decided to be disruptive. We decided to base our entire application platform on data. So we're banking on this, and we're changing it to simply say there is a generic consumption layer to interact with insurance companies and the banks. It's generic, it's pervasive. If you want to take a deposit, do trade finance, you want to buy and sell assurances, assurities, underwriting, common interaction layer. Everything else is built on a common data architecture. Because we think data is relevant. We think data is the most stable aspect of every banking and finance company. We then have built services on top of that. Those services will help us, enable us to service our customers. Sales, servicing, product management, retail banking. And that is how we think real time should be. It's about relevant information in order to enable the end user on time, contextually. It's about enabling the salesperson to make the right offer to the customer in context of customers' life events. It's about enabling the corporation to make their business decisions with the right foundation of finance decisions. And it's about enabling the COO, CFO, and the CIO decide the roadmap of the bank. And to us, that is real time. And that's where we're going, and we hope to take some of you with us. Thank you very much.